some of those scenes where you don't really see him are most effective, especially when when there's a previous scene in the film where he's scared of a spider.
Right.
And then there's a scene where she's looking under his door and you could hear him on the other side. I felt like that was more creepy. And then he eats a spider. Like she sees him eat a spider. Like, oh man, he was scared of that yesterday, but now he's just willing to eat it.
Right. Yeah.
And like talk to it while he eats it. Like that was creepy. Like sometimes when you don't have to see the horror, that's what actually makes it scary.
Right. Drive-by Movies here, coming at you with another episode of Direct to Dumpster. I am James.
My name's Blaise.
This week we are talking about A24's The Hole in the Ground by Lee Cronin, the director, and this is his first feature film. And did you hear me right? Yeah, I said that, A24. Why haven't you heard about this movie? Why is it in the dumpster? That's what we are here for. Be sure to check out our previous episodes if you haven't. But this week, The Hole in the Ground. What did you think, Blaise?
This is an all right movie. It's not bad by any means. It's decent. It holds up.
Yeah.
But you brought something up that I think the viewers should know why they haven't heard of The Hole in the Ground.
There's, I feel like, a very specific reason. We kind of brought it up with Under the Silver Lake. I think just that movie was unmarketable. They didn't know how to market it. A24 is like, what do we do with this movie? We know that mainstream audiences aren't going to like this movie. But that movie was very unfairly mistreated, though. Just they need better marketing team, I guess, for that one. But this movie easily could have been a hit, I feel like, within the indie circuit of horror films, like play at all the IFC Midnight theaters or anything. There's plenty of those style theaters here in LA. I'm sure they could have played at landmarks throughout the country. But the reason why I feel like this movie is forgotten about and was just thrown onto Amazon Prime, like most A24, well, every A24 movie is available on Amazon Prime, if you didn't know that. But this movie in particular, we had never heard of. We just came across it and we're like, A24. It's because it's literally too similar to Us, the Jordan Peele film that just came out a few months ago. Us was a huge hit. And we've noticed every year, like, well, maybe not every year, but there's always like movies come in twos. It's always been something funny I've noticed since I was a kid, like Armageddon and what's it called? Deep Impact, You're Next, which is way better than The Purge, but those came out the same year. And always one of them gets shitted on for being the ripoff, essentially. I'm like, these movies are being made at the same time. They're not ripping each other off. Or maybe they did, but just like, you know.
It's parallel thinking. It's something that happens in waves. Everyone gets excited about one thing. Yeah. Maybe it could be the fact that everyone's reading the same news and that inspires them in a similar style way. It's a lot of parallel thinking. I mean, when you look at The Hole in the Ground and you look at Us, I don't think either of the films ripped each other off. I think it's honestly just parallel thinking. Two people had the same exact idea, whether it's Lee Cronin and Jordan Peele in this case, or the doppelgangers that both these movies are about. Because if you think about it, the movie is a doppelganger of each movie is a doppelganger of the other movie. So it kind of says a little bit about their films.
Right, exactly. It's just a bummer that it worked out this way. This poor director, you know. I mean, this film definitely is not an American-made movie. I'm not sure what country.
Ireland.
Ireland, of course, yeah. That's where I would have figured. But yeah, just like it's cool that A24 bought this film, but just didn't do anything with it. And you know, this director could have had a cool shot, I feel like. I mean, the director of The Hallow has gone on to make a few movies as well. Like, I felt like this could have been like that, essentially, rolled out to Netflix. Like, A24, I feel like, needs to put out some of their movies on Netflix. And this is one that I could see being a sleeper hit on there when people start to think less about Us. I mean, Us is still pretty fresh in everyone's mind. Doppelganger movies have been done for so long. And is this one effective? It had its moments. I thought it was a cool first film. It's not like the best movie ever, but I feel like there was potential with this movie to be a bigger hit, though.
It's definitely, it's a very small movie. There's not many characters in it. You know, there's not too many locations. It's really kind of just takes place at the house, and there's a couple scenes at the school. But other than that, you know, it's a very small, tightly knit film, but also like a tight story. I felt like the story was very effective. It's about a single mom and her son. They move away to kind of get away from their past, and her son basically becomes a doppelganger, a little to her knowledge, but she keeps seeing this weird woman that's going through this experience and like recovering from her believing that her son was a doppelganger.
Right.
Now this main character, Sarah, is kind of believing the same exact thing. Like, oh, is her son a doppelganger? She looks under the door. He's doing weird stuff. He's acting totally different. And, you know, unbeknownst to her, he is actually a doppelganger. He got lost in the woods, fell in this hole, and this doppelganger kind of took him over.
Right. And with those doppelgangers, actually, I mean, all they have to do, I guess, is just touch you. The creatures in this, I thought, were pretty cool looking. I mean, they kind of remind me of like xenomorphs, essentially, not really having like eyes or anything. They're just really a big mouth. But the way they walked was really creepy, and I thought that was effective. But I thought some of the scenes with the kid were just like kind of cringy. I thought like
him being scary almost.
Yeah, him like I mean him like checking up on his mom was creepy and stuff, but like when he had his superpower moments, like I was having flashbacks to like that Superman Return scene where the little kid pushes the piano. Yeah, like that's what I was reminded when he pushed the table and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like it. Kind of gave me vibes of Ouija. I forget what the second Ouija film is.
Oh, okay.
I just thought that film was horrible.
Right.
And I just hate when they like use special effects on little kids to make them like creepy or fast or scary. And this kind of had a little bit of those moments.
Especially when he's like super strong and throws his mom across the room. I was like, ugh, like, can you show this off screen? Like, it's definitely more effective if like just you hear her like fighting with her son and you hear her getting beat and just, but
some of those scenes where you don't really see him are most effective, especially when when there's a previous scene in the film where he's scared of a spider.
Right.
And then there's a scene where she's looking under his door and you could hear him on the other side. I felt like that was more creepy. And then he eats a spider. Like she sees him eat a spider. Like, oh man, he was scared of that yesterday, but now he's just willing to eat it.
Right. Yeah.
And like talk to it while he eats it. Like that was creepy. Like sometimes when you don't have to see the horror, that's what actually makes it scary.
Right. And also that was scary that like we see early on in the film that like he's not into eating so much. He's kind of a picky eater. And then just out of nowhere, he's like, no, give me all the spaghetti. Just like, who is this kid?
So when it comes to A24 constantly releasing these films, not really giving too much marketing, I would say in the you know, talking about the hole in the ground, I feel like this was almost warranted. They've kind of expanded their film market. And I think a lot of what we think of A24 is we think of those movies that they used to constantly release in theaters. Yeah. And I feel like we've seen the effects of what's going on in the domestic market here in the US of, you know, there aren't as many movies going to theaters, and the movies that are popping up on video on demand are not as successful as they once were because there's just so much stuff. Every week you look, there's a new movie on Netflix. There's new movies that are, you know, coming back to Amazon Prime or whatever. And this was one of those that just appeared on Amazon Prime. But there's something about the fact that maybe I don't open my Amazon Prime as much. Maybe Amazon Prime, most people aren't really using it as much as Netflix. Netflix is that go-to application that when a movie pops up brand new on Amazon Prime and Amazon Prime isn't pushing it down your throat like Netflix does, like every Saturday, it doesn't happen on Fridays, even though that's when stuff is released. They're advertising it to me next Monday, the stuff that got released on Friday, but that will, like, if something doesn't pop up there, I don't know it was released. Right. So when something comes to Amazon Prime, this might have been a big reveal for them to you know, push a new movie brand new. It comes out and it's on Amazon Prime, but Amazon just doesn't have that. Yeah. Unless it's their own original content, they're not pushing it down your throats as much as Netflix is, I feel like.
It would be a good idea actually for Amazon to start working with studios like IFC or A24 to like any movie that like is maybe A24 doesn't want to release into theaters to actually like promote like, oh, we have A24's new movie and stuff. Because that's what I kind of miss about going to the movies. There was always like studios that I like could always count on essentially. Like I guess IFC has always been one of them. A24, like they were just the new upcoming one that was like putting out stuff I was always interested in. Maybe not so as much anymore lately, but like Neon I think is like kind of becoming that thing lately. And it'd be cool if like just Amazon like took over like, oh, we want to work specifically with these studios to pick up the movies that they don't want to put in theaters or something.
And interestingly enough, talking about Amazon, I think the relationships are there with those studios. A lot of the studio heads at Amazon do have deep ties to the indie marketing and indie film companies that you're even talking about, like Neon or A24, I feel like those connections could be made to kind of push that content.
Yeah.
Where the theater market is kind of disappearing for those films, and the less that they are getting released to theaters, it's even shrinking faster than you can believe.
Absolutely.
So I would say, you know, making those connections to release those films to a broader audience should be made sooner rather than later.
Definitely. I mean, when it comes to Hole in the Ground, it's not like the most original film, I'd say. All in all, it's a movie that could have been marketed, I think, to smaller theaters, and it definitely would have like had a little bit of traction, got decent word of mouth, I think. But I think just A24 just was just like, we don't know what to do with this movie. Maybe they already had it and we're just kind of shelving it little by little. And then maybe the Us trailer came out and they're like, oh, well, I don't know, just dump it on Amazon. It's a movie that I think a lot of people will probably forget about. It's not something I'm telling you to go watch right now. It's not a movie that belongs in the dumpster, but it's just a movie that's there. It's a fun watch. Like Netflix has been producing some not the best horror films, I feel like, and this was a good change of option, I feel like. I remember the last movie I was most excited for on Netflix was like The Ritual, but that ended up being a disappointment. Like I kind of feel like this movie is like on par with that, where it's like it's good, decent horror, but it's just nothing like that we haven't seen before, essentially.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying. I was really stoked for The Ritual, and I feel like this fills that similar void where like I wasn't stoked for this movie because I didn't know that it existed, and then when it came out, I'm like, oh, this actually is pretty decent. So I see it kind of filling that same void, but at the same time, I understand why it was shelved. It's just like you're saying, Us came out, and this has similar concepts and themes that it explores, and
no name cast or director.
Name cast. And Us was, in, popular culture, where it's not going to transcend popular culture when there's already a film that's similar. And we've noticed that, popular culture isn't really, accepting of, these dual kind of parallel thinking pieces where in a time, even when Deep Impact and Armageddon reigned, like they weren't even willing to accept it then. So this was kind of relegated to not being seen after Us was just, in major popular culture with the success of Jordan Peele. So, I mean, if you're going to check it out, it's by no means a bad movie. It's all right. It definitely doesn't belong in the dumpster. Go check it out. If you do like horror movies, I think you'll actually be pleasantly surprised. Thanks for watching, guys, and we always appreciate the support. The best way to support the show is by renting the film through our Amazon affiliate link in the description below.
Once you check out The Hole in the Ground, be sure to leave us a comment and let us know what you thought about the movie. And as always, the best way to stay up to date with our content is to subscribe to our channel, and as well, hit that notification bell to get quick updates.
And as always, smash that like button. Anyways, guys, Drive By Movies, that is going to do it for this week. Tune in next week to see what we have in store.